Hey, we are live, and myself and my gorgeous girlfriend just finished watching the entire season of Echo. So, just a heads up, guys, there will be spoilers, but we'll bring them up later on in the show. In case you're wondering, Echo is a new Marvel TV show. It's a character, Echo's a character of native heritage from the comics. They've changed her up a bit for the series. She was actually introduced in the Hawkeye series, and this follows directly after that, where she is running from uh, criminal forces who are loyal to the Kingpin, and it brings her back home to Oklahoma to the reservation
Sorry,
she
guys.
grew up on. And I think there's someone fighting in the background. Hopefully, it's not Daredevil,
No,
because he knocked the shit out of a bunch of guys in this. Um,
sorry about that. Something fell. I'm sorry, guys.
yeah, okay. Hopefully, no one's dead. You know,
No
don't.
one's dead. No one's dead.
No one's dead. A
No
couple of
one's
people
dead.
die in this, which
No
is
one-
is a pleasant surprise considering it's a Marvel TV show. Um, Aquella Cox plays Echo, as she
Yes.
had played her in the Hawkeye series. Native actress, nice few native actresses and actors in this. It has gotten the backing support and the kind of insight from
The
uh,
Choctaw Nation.
Choctaw Nation, which
Mhm.
kind of rings a bit home for you as well, Jen, right?
Yes, because while I always talk about my German heritage, the other half of me is native. My grandfather was super, super native, and he came from Choctaw and Chickasaw. So I know, I don't know, is I should know way more about my heritage than I do, but that is part of where I comes from. And my people are from Oklahoma. That side of my family is from Oklahoma, which is
Yeah.
probably where the redneck comes from.
Well, you're not as bad as the fucking shitheels that tried to kidnap Echo and her uncle in this show. Um, as a non superhero Marvel person, how did you find getting into the show? Like
Um,
the first episode and stuff, was it easy to kind of get a grasp on what was happening?
Yes, this they make the narrative even for someone who I imagine there was a lot of fun little Easter eggs and nods that went over my head, but the majority of it I understood that it was pretty a clear cut, thing. And I do really appreciate that they do really try to incorporate the native side of it. And they don't have any superheroes that are, natives and stuff. And it seems like it's about time that we do. And I appreciate this. I do really appreciate this. And I think it wasn't done to for the wrong reasons, just to hit a certain quota or to impress people or look at how progressive we are. I think they were doing it for the right reasons, to maybe get people like me who have some of that heritage but don't know a damn thing about it. This is a good gateway. Like I was telling you before we started the show, Marty, I think this is a really good gateway to maybe get in touch with your heritage, because sure, people want to know through books, but sometimes movies and TVs can speak to our imaginations and get us much more curious than we can in other means. So whatever gets you interested in your heritage is cool with me, and I think they did it very respectfully.
I did appreciate that. My one concern was though, because I had kind of always thought this was going to be a very gritty. I thought this was going to be a return to form for the Netflix shows, and the Netflix shows were very grounded and very gritty. There were crime dramas that just happened to have kind of be set in the
Superhero.
Marvel universe with vigilantes and stuff, and there is that to the extent. But if you're going in expecting like a full on Netflix esque Marvel series with the likes of say Daredevil or the Punisher, you might be a bit disappointed. Now, the later seasons, like the Defenders and parts of Daredevil, did go into the supernatural aspects, and this I for the most part, I thought it was okay. I did find it went a bit hokey as the series, the last episode, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Um, did you find though the kind of our main character, Maya Echo, essentially is having these kind of visions of kind of her ancestors and the story, the birth of the Choctaw Nation and the Choctaw peoples.
Mhm.
Did you think that was kind of hokey? Did you think it was done tastefully, or do you think maybe they pushed it a bit too far?
I have heard some people say that that it did push it a little too far. I was, and I've heard a couple people say that there were some segments of the show, because when they were focusing on the past or that part of the heritage, that it kind of slowed down the show a little bit. I don't think so. I think it added a good story element to the show. I didn't have an issue with it. My issue was more like you. We got it wasn't like, now it's not like G rated or anything, but I was kind of hoping we'd go a little bit darker, a little bit grittier. And to be
That that
fair,
that
there.
that was the same with me. I was expecting something like the Netflix series. No, they never went full hard R, but they were pretty mature. And
Mhm,
this the kind of whole advertising, because Marvel is kind of worried they're going stagnant because of low ratings and low takings from their movies. So they want to try and push, hey, we're not just for kids and we're not just for kind of adolescent teens. And they're saying, okay, this is a lot of the advertising was this was a lot more mature and a lot more gritty.
mhm.
And I, there, to an extent, it was that, but
Yeah, to be fair, it was.
I don't think they went as far as the Netflix shows for grittiness or realness. Like,
I agree with you, but then on the other, but to play devil's advocate here, and you know me, I'm always for more darker and grittier stuff. But I can also understand the other side of the marketing, and they're trying to get a mass appeal. So I imagine they're like, okay, we'll make it mature, but we don't want to go too much to alienate, because there are people out there who don't want, something super dark or super, heavy duty. They want escapism, and so for some people, especially, I think both of our problems is definitely the last little bit of the show, the very ending of it,
yeah,
because for me, it really wrapped everything up in a little too neat of a bow. But there are a lot of people who
I
appreciate
wouldn't
that.
say neat. I found it was like just very, just just everything's just like fucking trigger pull, fucking. So, and we'll get to that. As I said before, we're not going to get into spoilers just yet. Um, One thing I enjoyed, and you pointed out, it took me a while to get used to it, and the actress, um, Cox, Quella Cox, who's playing Maya, is non-verbal. She
Mhm.
speaks through, yeah, American Sign Language, and it took me a while just to get used to kind of her personality and stuff. But Jen was like, "No, this is." You actually thought she was fantastic for being able to act non-verbally and stuff.
Yes, because I truly, but yeah, the probably the drama kid in me, but I believe you can speak without using words. It's a lot harder, and this actress does do what the role requires of her. And she's not a black nor white character. She's somewhere in the gray. She's more of an anti-hero, if you will, because she doesn't, she's not your typical woman. And there's a scene that we talked about earlier that I love, that kind of demonstrates that she's kind of it somewhere in the gray area in the middle, and doesn't act like a lot of women or girls would act. And I do appreciate that. It gives her character a very complex and nuanced kind of vibe about her. And I like that. And I like her portrayal. And you got to remember, she's dealing with a lot of grief. She loses her mother. I don't think that's a spoiler. Loses her mother very early in the first episode of the show, and her father is also in that gray. You can kind of understand where that gray comes from, because while he loves his daughter, he's not exactly being, he's not doing a 9 to 5 kind of job, and he could have been the reason why her mother is dead in the first place. And then her grandmother has grief. She's angry at the father, and that grief and anger have to lash out somewhere, and so it's going to spill over to her granddaughter. And as you
I
pointed
did.
out.
I love the dynamic between Chula and Maya, even though they don't share scenes. You
Mhm.
just know that like the fucking shit's gonna hit the fan when these two eventually do kind of have to fucking face each other. And it isn't as it's one of these things that like you think, oh, they'd start screaming at each other. Obviously they can't because Maya isn't verbal, but there is this emotional outburst, and
Yes.
like I thought Chula was going to be very kind of antagonistic towards Maya, but you kind of get the feeling as the scene goes on, she's realizing, oh, I made a mistake. I was kind of horrible to this child who had
And I
no
think she
fucking
didn't
part.
realize she was horrible. It was just her grief and anger. Kind of grief and anger can blind you, and that's what has happened. And I think that that's one of the geniuses of this show is showing the human emotion. And as much as they do kind of wrap it up in a neat bow toward the end, it does show a complex family dynamic. And I like that her feelings with Kingpin, with Vincent D'Onofrio's character, are not so black and white either. They are kind of kindred
Mm.
spirits. Again, there's that one scene where it really shows they're very much of the same side of the coin, and I like that. And Vincent D'Onofrio, like you kept saying, do you think that this is a strategic thing? Possibly. Like I said, I haven't read the comics, and I don't pretend to be a superhero aficionado at all. But what I got from D'Onofrio's performance was there's a lot of affection and love. Yeah, he'll exploit what she's got, her talents as well, but there's also a deep affection and love for her. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, because like if you've seen Hawkeye, it's kind of
More
like
murky.
no, it's not that. It's just the Hawkeye is like the character of Hawkeye when he was Ronin. I'm getting into kind of basically when everyone vanished in the fucking Avengers Endgame, Hawkeye became this murderous vigilante known as the Ronin, and started killing different kind of criminal enterprises and gangs and stuff like that. And it's kind of hinted that Fisk D'Onofrio was jealous of the relationship of Maya and her father, so he kind of orchestrated his death. You see, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that does sort of toward the ending. That is one of my praises for the ending. It kind of shows that again that he gets jealous not of her father, but of the rest of her family when he kind of susses that she's probably going to stay with her people.
Yeah,
You know, that's kind of when he literally pulls out the big guns and stuff. So it does translate into the other show. It just kind of takes its time to show it. There is kind of this rage. Again, it's talking about rage and grief and how that can blind you and how that can distort who you really are. Probably deep down there's something, somewhat of a decent person or human being buried in him, but because he's had to live his life and the rage and grief. And I think the only thing he's ever loved is this little girl. But again, because of the way he's got the blinders on, it's twisted.
yeah,
That's the
like
theme I get from this show is just a lot of, that what grief and anger can do and twist love. Even when it's something pure, it can still twist it.
um, I do. What would be which episode would have been your favorite? Which or what part of an episode would have been your favorite, or any particular scene or moment?
Like I said, probably the scene that I really thought was a brilliant piece of writing was definitely the scene where we get the flashback form with the little girl and she can't communicate with the ice cream vendor and he's getting annoyed and kind of just shoves her to the side. And Vincent D'Onofrio witnesses that. And after she gets in the car, he goes, "Uncle has to do something real quick." And he literally beats the living fuck out of this guy. Doesn't say a word, which I also really like. Sometimes I think the most impactful scenes, or again, like with our main character, are ones I think sometimes the scenes that speak the loudest are the ones that don't have any words. And then all of a sudden you pan and you see this little cute little 6 or 7-year-old girl witness this, and Vincent D'Onofrio goes, "Don't be scared." And then she runs up, and I kind of assume too she's going to comfort this guy or whatever, and instead she kicks him swiftly a couple of times. And you see this again, Vincent D'Onofrio recognizes some of that with him, and it makes the bond closer, but it also distorts it.
Yeah, I
Pretty
like
good
you
writing.
kind of pointed out. You kind of pointed out to me because I was like, I kind of misinterpreted that as a light bulb going off and D'Onofrio's head, going, "This child has a lot of rage. Maybe I can use that." But you're like more, no. This is a kind of kindred spirit kind of moment. D'Onofrio's fantastic. Again, we've gone into spoilers, guys. He
I'm
is
sorry. Did I
alive.
go too? I'm sorry.
No, no,
I'm
no,
bad.
no, no.
I'm bad.
Because that was a flashback. That was a flashback. But just a heads up, Kingpin survives. Again, it wouldn't have made any sense for them to bring him back in Hawkeye for the last episode. They bring back Kingpin, only for him to kill him off again. So no, he's back, and Maya somehow grazed him, didn't fucking kill him, shot him in the eye
It
or something.
doesn't really explain how he
No,
made that, does it?
no, but he
I never
survives.
thought of it till you brought it up.
but it's look that there's a dude who turns into an angry green giant, and another guy who flies around in metal armored suit. We don't need to. And these are canon to Marvel. Marvel has said that the Netflix shows, and this is canon to the other stuff. Um, so again, it's interesting because like you think that you essentially think that when Kingpin turns back up, he's going to want revenge, and I was kind of shocked by this because like there was a bounty put out, and some good old boys who worked at Maya's uncle's roller derby tried to claim the bounty, which
I
did
really
not go.
enjoyed that. That I enjoyed. I love that was probably a really good episode. I really enjoyed that, especially the scene at the roller rink. Make America skate again, which I
Yeah,
like.
the fucking they were three of the most fucking white trash looking motherfuckers ever. And you just looked at and it was funny the kind of catty hoary one was like, oh, I gotta go somewhere. And she just goes off. I think I'll go with her. No, 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 no. You're not going anywhere. She fucking knew the jig was up. And she was like out of there.
Can't blame her. And I also liked our main henchman. You said we couldn't figure out who the actor was, but we both recognized him. And I liked the shots in this because they take Echo and they literally hang her up by a disco ball in a skating rink. And I like the shots in that episode. Plus, one of my favorite characters was her uncle. I don't know why. Hello DMC. I just didn't say I was
Hey, Daniel.
hey
Yo, dude.
but I liked her uncle a lot. He was native, but he's also a good old boy, and I liked how and I think his inflections were very deliberate. You could hear that good. He was totally native, but he had that good old boy sounding too. Sounded
The
like some of
actor,
my people.
the actor was Cask Spencer. He played Henry Black Crow
And I
Lopez. He
think
was
I've
my
seen him in other stuff because I think I recognize him. I don't know what from, but I think so.
he he's kind of like he's the kingpin with a heart of gold who kind of runs the underworld of the town. Like when he also runs the fucking kind of shipping part of the town. And when Maya decides to, hey,
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 Lorca.
got that. When Maya decides to send a message via an explosive item on board a train, he turns to the other people he works with and goes, "Don't worry, shit. I promise shit won't roll down on top of you. It'll roll on me." So you're like, yeah, and he's like you kind of get the feeling as well that he gives Maya a lot of leeway because he might be the reason that her father was involved in shady shit, and he
Yeah,
may also be the reason that her mother died. So you think because like she essentially nearly gets him killed and destroys his kind of
multiple
great
times.
business. Yeah, yeah. So I liked that character. I liked Graham Greene as well as
Oh, I
Jen
loved him.
was chatting. Jen made a really good point because when you're doing something that's native centric, and you get Graham Greene, they kind of they milk him for all he is. But
And that's not a bad thing. Like he's a brilliant. It's not just
oh,
because he's native. He's a fucking brilliant actor. There's been a few parts he's been in where his native doesn't make a big thing. I love him in the Die Hard movie where I love him in, just as in I can't remember
yeah,
which one.
Die Hard with a Vengeance, where he's the
Yeah,
cop, and
I love him in that and stuff. He's just a great actor, but sometimes people do over. And I don't mean to cut you off, Marty, but I do feel sometimes if there's a native thing, then it's just. And that's one thing we've talked about this before. There's some really brilliant native actors that don't get their due. It seems like if you don't know who Graham Greene is, that's the only actor to go to if you need a native, which I guess is better because back in the day we didn't even have natives playing native. But
you had the likes of Floyd Red Cow and Chief Dan George and stuff. And
mhm.
at that time, Graham Greene was like the younger guy. Like if you remember Dances with Wolves,
Yes,
you
that's
had
where you up and somewhere.
I think you had Chief Dan George as one of the elders in that,
Mhm.
and as young brave. And now you have where Graham Greene is the sage worthy native. and they do and don't do. They make him more the kind of
Comic relief, kind of.
comic relief, the kind of cheeky shop owner huckster kind of guy, like where he's trying to sell the kind
The
of little
white people.
bowl. What? And he starts chanting something.
By
By
the
the
damn, and he's chanting in Indian, and it's very convincing. But if you listen really closely, all he's saying is "buy the damn thing, buy the damn thing."
but
And but he also is the heart. I don't, again, I'm cutting you off, Marty, and I don't mean to, but he is the heart of the family. He is kind of the one that, knows, understands everybody and sees where everybody's at and doesn't judge, but he's the cool head of the family. And he seems to be the one that he might play the jokester of the family, but he's the deep one of the family because he understands where everybody's coming from.
and like there's also, again, a kind of headcanon stuff. Himself and Shula were very close,
Mm-hmm.
and when Shula's daughter died, Maya's mother, you kind of got to, because Maya's mother absolutely had nothing but vitriol for Maya's father, and you kind of got the feeling that maybe he kind of stood up or kind of pointed out you shouldn't be taking it out on Maya one too
Mm-hmm.
many times, and that's what may have caused the two of them to split.
Yeah, you can
Because,
cut.
as you said, he's fair. He's not. Yeah, that's what I got from it. I think that might have been the kind of the the orchestra, the arc.
Archetype,
No,
archetype.
no, not archetype. The reason. Sorry,
Mhm. I get you. I get you.
the
Yeah, the reason.
architecture of the their relationship to end, because he might have just said, "Look, fucking, don't be taking out on the child one too many times, or don't, like, your granddaughter. You need to see your grand." And he still fucking carries that torch
He
even
does.
then, because Chula comes into the shop and she's like, "Maya's back in town," and he's like, "Yeah," and you say that like it's the plague,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, again, I think the Kingpin stuff is interesting, but I like the kind of dynamic between Maya and her grandmother, and how it's I don't know why. I think they could have even gone further with it, but that's just me.
I get what you're saying. I think they're trying to play it underhanded, but that is the sense I get, that it's not such simple answers. It's not so black and white. And again, what I get is what grief and anger can twist and turn the, love, which is the purest form of human emotion, and it twists it with both the grandmother and Vincent D'Onofrio, and even our main character, because again, she's not a bad person, but she's done some bad things,
Oh
and
yeah,
as Kingpin points out in one thing, did you plead for any of those people that I had you kill? Did you ever, and stuff? And he does have a point. He's twisting stuff, but he does still have a point.
yeah. It's kind of like no character in this is innocent. No
No,
one,
no.
no one is like the only pure innocent character. Like the uncle isn't innocent, Maya isn't. The only characters that are innocent in this are either Biscuits and Bonnie. I like
Yeah.
Biscuits. I'm glad nothing happened to him.
I liked him too. And again, he was also, besides Graham Greene, he also provided a little bit of, but he also provided the heart. He wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he did love his family, and it's genuine. And the scene where when he's first introduced and Echo comes out the door and he realizes who it is and he gives her a hug, it's not because it's family, but it's genuinely, hey, I'm really happy to see you after 20 something years. And he brings her the box of food and he helps her, even though he knows he's going to get shit from his grandmother. He still helps her and risks his life and in the life of his dog.
And like the bit where the grandmother's trying to drive the car and she obviously can't drive fucking manual or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the car, and he goes, "Oh, the nephew Biscuits is using the truck," and he just drives down the street and the truck's in bits. He's like, "Ah," and then he arrives at the garage. "Hey everyone, I'm selling my PlayStation 4," because he's got to fix the mother's truck or grandmother's truck.
And I like what another thing I like about this is it really does show the female side of, you know, the strength of the females. We have the female warriors. We have, and she, the grandmother, is a bit of a warrior. Maybe she sees things that aren't, you know, that aren't. She kind of knows things are coming, and Graham Greene kind of alludes to that too. You know, your ancestors are whispering in your ear, and he goes, "How come they can't ever, you know, give you the Powerball number?" You know, I like that. I like that it kind of shows that they're the sight givers and stuff for this. I enjoy that part of it. They get the native stuff. Sometimes it's a little cliche in Hollywood, but that's going to be with anything that's Hollywood. But for the most part, I think they handle it really well, and I gotta respect them for that.
One character I thought they done dirty or they done nothing. Like there was so
Bonnie,
much Bonnie. I was like, your cousin Bonnie. You better contact Bonnie when she comes here. Oh, if Bonnie knew, she'd be devastated. And it's like, I
we
don't know.
never
Did you
get a
just
payoff. They set it up and then it just kind of, it just literally fizzles out. I noticed that too, and I was thinking, what the hell are we doing, guys? It's not bad. It's just Bonnie at the end. You think she's going to be this really fancy, you know, thing of wine or something, and she's just this tap thing in tap water is basically what she is. She's not bad necessarily, but she doesn't add much. She's just kind of more of a character that's needed, you know, for Echo to feel in danger for her family and
Yeah,
try to
because
protect.
she
She's
gets
just a
taken
carrot
hostage. She gets taken hostage a couple of times, and like they build it up because there is a sweet moment where they're like,
when they're kids.
when they're kids, and she Echo's like, "Oh, we're sisters. We're not sisters. We're cousins. No, you and me are sisters." And then when Echo's driving off, Bonnie, and you're like, "Okay, okay." And then later on, it's like this, like,
Nothing.
honest to God, Biscuits and Echo have far more of a touching and fucking kind of intricate kind of relationship than
Even
fucking
Echo and her grandmother
yeah,
is complicated it is at the end. They have more of a payoff with it too. Pretty much everybody, but even her uncle and her. You know, really, Bonnie
yeah,
is at the very end of the line, I think, and they
yeah.
which would be fine. But again, like you pointed out, the series really makes it like this is going to be some special bond between the two of them. Not really.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. One other thing I enjoyed, but honest to God, it was an artificial dopamine kick, and it was put in there for fanboys. And Jen was just like, again, I think this series is fairly solid to
Hmm.
be standalone,
I think
but
so
like
too.
when Maya is sent on her first mission, she has to take out some goons, and Daredevil turns up, and Jen's like, "Okay, who's this guy?" And I'm like, "It's Daredevil," and it's a cool fight. The only real purpose it serves is like it's a cool fight. Daredevil fucks off for some reason. Daredevil wouldn't fuck off. He'd knock the shit out of Maya, tie her up, and let the cops deal with her. But he disappears. And the only real kind of thing is, oh, Maya, you survived him when the rest of my men couldn't. I'm making you a lieutenant or some fucking shit. And I was like, okay, hey, Charlie Cox. Bye, Charlie Cox. And don't get me wrong, Charlie Cox is the fucking sex. He is. Without the Daredevil Netflix series, I don't think we would have gotten any. We definitely wouldn't have gotten this. Um, do you think that? Do you think his introduction would be an obstacle? Would it take it out? Would it take people out of like this is the first episode? So if you're getting into this and this fucking dude turns up in a costume and you're like, I'm out, or
No, you know, luckily I had someone else, like I had you with me, so you explained it to me and you explained it to me well. But I think if someone was really getting into it, if and they were like me, completely, you know, just you know, doesn't know anything about superheroes or knows very very little about superheroes, there's you can Google, you have Google, or you could have friends, or you can find it out. It was a little, and I kind of put it together. I'm like, oh, this must be one of those superhero people that people like. And I can't get mad at it, Marty. You're talking, maybe I'm not a superhero fan, but I'm a horror fan. And I fucking loved every fucking Easter egg that David, you know, they put in a Halloween. I even liked when they, you know, nodded to the bumbling cops and everybody hated that. And I'm like, I know what you're doing. So I can't get mad or I'd be a hypocrite.
no, no, it's grand. Also, like with Ronan, with Hawkeye turning up, Jeremy Renner, and like, were you like, so Maya used a snowplow to try and kill Hawkeye? No, that's just the Hawkeye series. Hey, Brent Boone.
Cat Dad says he's heard that it's darker than some of the stuff they've had. The show's
It
darker.
is, it is, but it doesn't reach the same level of the Netflix shows. It doesn't go that far. Um
I would have to
see,
concur with Marty. I don't know about the Netflix shows, but I know Dark and Gritty. Trust me on this. I know Dark and Gritty, and this wasn't bad. It's not like little kitty stuff or anything, but I thought it would be a little darker too, just from what
the
I heard.
the ending for me is where, okay, I guess Marvel had to Marvel. Um because it is, yeah, no, he's cool in it, and I think if you've seen, or at that, if you've seen the Netflix show, you will be grand. You will be grand. But I think anyone who's coming in to this
Hi.
expecting expecting kind of like a hard bitten kind of, because I genuinely, again, I thought this was going to be the early Netflix shows, the early Daredevil and Punisher shows were essentially like The Wire or The Shield or Hill Street Blues, where a fucking superhero or a vigilante happened to blunder in. They were essentially hard bitten crime dramas that just happened to have a superhero in them. This, as the series progresses, we get more supernatural stuff. We get more kind of comic book inducive stuff. Um, should we spoil the ending, or like, could we? Is there any way we can give away the ending without ruining it? Or
I think if we're very careful, I think we can talk about it without spoiling it for people who haven't watched it. Because I mean, it came out yesterday, but it's still fairly new. So I think if we choose our words carefully, I don't think we have to give a blow by blow, but we can talk about it without talking about it. You know what I mean?
yeah. Is there anything you want to discuss that that we haven't talked about yet, that you wanted to bring up, that you
Uh,
think was interesting? Or
I enjoyed this show because you were worried. I think you thought I was bored out of my mind, and I wasn't bored in my mind. I thought it was a good show. Did I love it? I got to be honest, I didn't love it. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it because it does handle the native stuff very respectfully, and I can see people wanting to learn more about their culture if they're like me and might have some of that in their history. But I liked this show for the most part. There were, like I said, some of the fight scenes in the during the whole show, I was like, okay, guys, let's. But I'm not a superhero person, and that's no hate to you guys. That's just not my thing. But I like the show overall, and it's the characters. To me, it is the story in itself is what I find so fascinating. And while they do fumble the ball in a few areas, I do how they make the characters very nuanced and interesting, and how it shows how grief and anger really can twist love. And I would, particularly with Vincent D'Onofrio and the grandmother, and Biscuits was just a heartwarming character. I really liked the uncle. There was some fun things about it. I was never bored with this show, and I
Mhm.
think for people who are disappointed with some of the other shows that didn't do as well, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this show. And if you're really into superhero stuff, I think you'll really dig it. I think you'll really dig it. For someone coming in, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Of course, it could have been the person I was watching it with too, might have had something to do with it, but I had a good time with the show in general. I
I
really
think
did.
I annoyed the shit out of her because she was like, again, keep in mind, this is Jen Mitchell, the woman I love, the woman I know intricately, and she was dead fucking silent, and I was like, oh no, oh no, she hits us. She was like, just chum, like she fucking hates this.
I didn't, Marty. I was just absorbing it, and like that's how I process, and I knew we were going to talk about it. So that's just how I do things. You would have known, trust me, you would have known if I hated it.
This is bullshit, bullshit. No,
You're in your goddamn superheroes, Marty. I never, just because I'm native, you tried to get that angle on it. This is
do you
fucking
think
bullshit.
it helped the last one you watched was about a haunted swimming pool as well? Do you
It
think that
couldn't have
might help?
hurt. But no, the show, like, no, because that's throwing the show under the bus. And again, our main character, the actress, my hat's off to her because I mean, it's hard enough just doing an acting job, but she doesn't have the power of speech along with it. And she manages to convey emotions, and she manages to convey sorrow and heartbreak and rage very well, and pain. And it really, and it's not in cliche ways. She manages, just some of her looks is enough, and they're not just, with tears in her eyes and stuff like that. You can just see the rage building in. And I really liked that. I really did.
Dude, the other cool thing is, this is getting the Prey treatment as well. Prey, we got a Comanche dub. Next week we're getting a Choctaw dub for this, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we
Uh,
are. We are,
yeah.
because I heard about that and I was like, oh, that's very cool. I'm going to listen to it because, again, it's part of my heritage. Like, I might not look it, but I do have a good chunk of that in me. I'd like to have a good chunk of Irish in me, but that's when you come over, darling.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anywho.
I've been good. It's been 36 minutes, darling.
No, in fairness, I'm looking at the clock here. 36 minutes and 17 seconds. Not one mention of my nether region. So you know what?
Thank you. I can do adult stuff.
God damn it. What was I going to say? It's a good show. I think there's certain things they could improve. I do guess that the character themselves has kind of certain abilities that they don't have in this. But the thing that got me right, and it's going to be my criticism, and Hardcat Dead says that's a new record, Marty. Yes, it is.
I done good.
She done good. I get you cookie later on. But one thing that kind of annoyed me, because after watching the ending, the showrunner is like, in the comic, Maya can replicate people's fighting styles. And the showrunner said, we're not doing that because that seems kind of hokey. And then the last episode came on. And as I said, Disney's going to Disney. It doesn't ruin the show for me, but it definitely kind of solidifies that this is not a Netflix series. So, spoiler alert, guys. How can we?
Okay, I think I like these in the minor, very minor spoils, but I think people will know that basically it comes down to Vincent and again, a brilliant scene with Vincent D'Onofrio, because he basically makes her make a choice, and when he sees her making a choice that displeases him, he literally brings out the big guns and literally a fight, with the whole, and it includes not just her and Kingpin, but the whole family. And we do, like, I agree with you. This is where I thought, oh, we're kind of going into a little bit of tropes that I'm not big on. You know what I mean? Am I totally spoiling it, or am I ruining this?
No. It's not. But for the showrunner to say that her having the power to emulate fighting styles, that's hokey, and then to do I would have preferred if she had kept her original power as opposed to this.
Yeah, I think I would too. And again, I'm not familiar with the comics either. But again, I can kind of to play devil's advocate, and I'm with you. It didn't work for me. This is where I have a lot of my criticisms. But to play devil's advocate, I get the feeling, and from what I've heard in interviews, they really are trying to incorporate the native part of this into the show. And so, like, I guess I can kind of understand someone coming and going, this is a great way to incorporate both our superhero and the native legends because of what happens. And I'm being very careful because I don't want to spoil anything, but you know what I'm talking about. And I think they're trying to mesh the two together, and it's not a terrible fit. It's just, again, like you guys were saying, this is a lot more this was supposed to be a little bit more grittier, a little bit more to Netflix's style. And this is where we go into, dare I say, almost hokey, almost a little hokey, a little like a little too diabetic comey. You know what I mean? It's
I, I,
not bad.
look, I've used the term to basically to sum it up. Marvel had to marvel. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Did you did you kind of get where they were going? But it's something they really needed to polish.
They did, but I think when it transferred as well. And again, I'm being obscure as fuck, guys. I'm not going to try and give details. But when Shola and Bonnie, like maybe just with Echo, that would have worked. But it reminded me of the scene. I don't know if you've any Buffy fans out there, but the last episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where Buffy has this special kind of Slayer weapon and uses it to transfer her Slayer powers into all the potential Slayers. I was like,
Yeah,
are
I
we
kind of,
doing that?
and it was really with the grandmother. That's the one that I really like. I get it because they do kind of allude to certain things, so it kind of made sense. But maybe it's not so much how they did; it's the execution. Like the idea is not necessarily bad; it's how they execute it that I think you and I are having problems with. It was very Disney, for a lack of a better word. Which is apt, but
Disney's
it's
going to
fucking
Disney.
Disney.
Disney's going to Disney. Marvel's going to Marvel.
I mean, that's what it was. Like, I know that's stupid because I know the show is, but like, it was very Disney. And if someone who's not the biggest Disney person,
did you feel it was shoehorned?
Yeah.
Hey, go, girl power, woman empowerment.
Yes. And again, that's not inherently a bad message.
No, it's not. It's not. I will fucking look, lads. I got sick and tired of people giving fucking Amber Midthunder and Dan Trachtenberg shit over Prey.
Yeah.
That was brilliantly done. There is an organic way to do it. Sorry, babe, you go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you just hit the nail on the head. Prey did it with they did girl power, but they kind of, Prey is doing it in an intellectual, nuanced way. This is doing it in a very basic. And if you were playing to a younger audience, I could kind of understand. But this is almost insulting your audience. Yeah. Like, you get it, guys. And I don't like when. It don't matter what kind of genre I'm in. I don't like to be spoon fed. And I get they're trying to appeal to a man. I think their problem is they're also trying to appeal to as many people as you can, and you won't make some people happy one way or the other. So let's just go to the least offensive way we can. And then, there's this debate here that just people are saying, that everything is woke nowadays. You're going to have some people that are going to have a problem with this show and go, oh, why do natives have to get their own show? Because representation is important, people, Speaking with someone who has some of that heritage, representation is very important. And it's nice to see characters, little boys and girls can see, oh, they look like me. You know what I mean?
I think woke has been mutated into a very ugly term. Yeah. And I don't like using it myself. I think it is important for TV and movies to be progressive. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't, then you're just going to stagnate. And you're going to get stuck with the same shit over and over and over again. And there are so many great stories from so many great fucking cultures and people that can be told. And just because someone isn't the same skin color or isn't from the same place as you, doesn't mean that they haven't a story that you can relate to.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly like we're all different and yet we're all the same. It's the same. It goes by. We all have emotions and feelings and every story, and it can hit you. And also, like I said, and I know people are going to roll their eyes, but representation is very important, and you want to be able to understand where you come from and the stories. And I think that's very important. And we, like you said, it's also gets stale just seeing a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl. That kind of trope. It's nice. And again, and it's important to show girls that, hey, we can be just as tough as the men and we can kick ass too. I thought it pandered it a little bit. Like I said, you hit the nail on the head. Prey did it a lot better. and it didn't dumb down it, but you still got the message. It didn't have to dumb down it. This dumbed down it a little bit. It's like, hey, everyone, you get it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like just when Shula started fighting the bad guys, if like I was
Yeah.
like, oh, fucking spice up your life came on, I would have been like,
Roll. I just kind of did an eye roll. I was like, okay, this is where I was afraid. But up until then, to be fair, the show
doesn't
handled
hobble the
everything pretty
series
well.
for you.
No, it doesn't. And like they might, the second season might, fix it. If we get a second season, we might fix it. And we definitely, at least the show seems to think we're going to get, because they do have that, ending of it. It doesn't hobble it for me, but it does kind of take it down just a notch. I won't talk about this series the same way I talk about Prey, if you get what I mean. You know what I mean? But I do respect it, and I don't throw it under the bus, and I do madly respect it because, again, and this is probably biased, but because I do have some of that heritage, it's mad respect. Because I don't feel that what part of it was pandering. I think they handled it very respectfully.
I think people should definitely check this series out. All
Yeah,
I will
I
say
had a
is,
good time, Marty. And this
yeah,
is
no,
someone who's not a superhero person. I like Venom, except for Venom. I'm not a superhero person. I love Venom, though.
um, like again, if like Jen, as Jen said, she's not a superhero person. Go into this, but anyone who is a Marvel fan and they're expecting the Netflix show, you'll get maybe 40% of what Netflix did,
Mhm.
and the rest is fairly solid.
Mhm.
Um,
And a
bar
smidge of too much Disney. There is a few
yeah,
places
yeah,
where
no,
it's
they
a little Disney.
can I say it again, Jen? The last
Yes.
episode, Marvel had to Marvel. That's
Yeah, the basic, but overall, I think this is a good show. And from what I've heard, again, I'm not pretending I'm a an aficionado like you are, but from what I've heard from people, because you and I know some people who are, this is leaps and bounds better than some of the shows. That some of the shows I've heard are complete dog shit. This has a lot going for it. It has some problems, and I'm not going to say it doesn't, but it has a lot going for it. And again, if you happen to if you have some native heritage in you, that you feel an even closer kinship, or at least I did, because that is some of my people. I don't know as much as I should know about it, but that is some of my people, and for that reason, you feel a connection. Again, like I said, represent. You might think I'm a fucking asshole, but representation is fucking important. You know.
no, it is, and it's cool to see a show that does that, and like this and Prey and Killers of the Flower Moon. There's some fantastic native actors out there,
Oh
and
yes.
there always has been, and I think it's their time to shine. Even the other cool thing as well, if you're watching Marvel What If, is it Mohawk? There's a new character that's been introduced who is ironically voiced by Bonnie from this series, but they're not connected. But there's an entire episode done in Mohawk. I think I could be wrong. It could be another thing. I need to go back and check it out. But it's it's nice to see that like there is kind
They're
of
preserving it too,
yeah,
because these languages are dying, and
yeah.
it's nice. You know a little something about it with your culture. Nobody hardly speaks the
No,
language,
it's
and it's
it's
a shame.
that's the sad thing about Irish is a dying language. There's very few places that speak fluent Irish, and yes, they teach it in schools, but it's not integrated into our daily life. Ever since the end of the British occupation, it was forbidden for the longest period. That's how you subjugate. That's how you subjugate a people. You take
And
away.
that's when it happened here too
Yeah,
in the States with the natives as well. There
yeah.
were, yeah. Yeah, and that's how you lose your identity. And it's important to embrace all cultures, but you gotta know where you come from too. It helps. It really does. And it's a shame. And it's nice that we literally have it on film, so it's not gonna be completely erased. That is
Yeah,
kind of a nice thing.
I would recommend this, as I said before, recommend this
Okay.
show. Don't go in expecting the Netflix series. It's 40% the Netflix series, but 40% something about 50% something else that's really good. And the last 10% is Marvel gotta Marvel. Disney got
And
it, Disney.
and for people who are looking, I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio is enough. I mean, he's a brilliant actor. He's brilliant in this. Our lead actress does a fantastic. All the actors are fucking fantastic, and of course, Graham Greene goes without saying. I mean, just for their performances alone, and it also really does. I like that it's shot in Oklahoma. It looks really nice. It looks really nice, and the grittiness of New York as well. There's just a lot of things about this show that I can praise. And this is coming again, people. This is coming from someone who is not a superhero person. I date one. My oldest is one, but I'm not for the most part, except for Venom. I love me Venom.
She does love her Venom.
I love Venom.
But with that, yeah, check it out, guys.
I would
And
recommend it too.
I hope it gets a second season, and I hope they kind of trim the fat. Not that there's a lot that have to be taken off. It sets up.
Just tweak
I
it a
don't
little.
know. It's definitely going to set up a kind of street level universe. Whether basically there's an after credit scene. I'm not going to go into it, featuring the Kingpin. That I think, Jen, it's actually that's more of a setup for Daredevil Born Again, which is going to be Daredevil series, which will bring back Charlie Cox's Daredevil full time and John Bernthal's Punisher as well. So I'm going to be excited with that. But yeah, I check it out.
We're going to do a Punisher stream in the future, aren't we? You're going to introduce me to Punisher.
We will. Like, we could already do one as well. But I need to finish showing you Mr. In Between, because Punisher's a bit of a slog as well. But yeah, I'm going to essentially give it a B minus. Do you think that's fair?
I give it a solid B. I give it a solid B. I enjoyed it, and like I said, mad respect for them to do my people not wrong. And I know I don't look it, but I'm not one of those white assholes that say that. I have the German in me, but I also have a shit ton of native. High cheekbones, people. High cheekbones.
With that, babe, is there anything you want to promote or plug, or what's coming up?
Actually, probably we forgot a video. We didn't put it up yet, and it's probably going to go up sometime tomorrow. We're a little late to the party, but if you want to hear our thoughts on the Boogeyman, and boy, did I have some thoughts on that. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, the Boogeyman was directed by the same guy that directed Dash Cam.
But that's
I don't hate the guy. In fairness, I'm pretty fair with him, actually.
Jen loves Dash Cam. If anyone has any spare
copies of Marty. I do not love Dash Cam.
If anyone has any spare copies of Dash Cam on DVD, please mail them. I'll leave Jen's address in the description there below.
I do not have people think that was the worst fucking movie
any Dash Cam merch, any posters, postcards, movie stills, any homemade Funko Pops, anything at all, any Dash Cam merch at all, please send it Jen's way, okay?
You only can do this because I love you. You know how much I love you. That's the only reason
I love you too, babe. That's why I want to get you all the Dash Cam merch.
Valentine's is coming up, right? What about you, darling? What do you have?
I still got to sort out because this lovely lunatic sent me so many fucking Final Fraction figures or Final Faction figures.
Not the whole set, darling.
Got the whole fucking set, and I don't know whether to open them or leave them in the packet or take them out or put them together. I'll do a review at some stage. But yeah, I do need to do a video on my most anticipated for 2024. Turns out 2 of my most anticipated for 2024 are coming out in Ireland in 2025. So I gotta recalibrate that fucking list.
There's some Terrifier 3's coming out, though, darling. You can add that to your list. You know how much you love Art the Clown, and this is totally not payback. Marty loves
I don't hate Art the Clown. I actually prefer
people who hate Art the Clown always have to start out their conversations with "I don't hate Art the Clown."
What is this? Like, I'm not racist, but no, genuinely, I like character Art the Clown. I prefer the second one because it's not as mean spirited. Although I still have problems with the second one. It's like our heroine, your father made you this costume. A sexy warrior angel. Was her father being investigated by fucking we don't see her father, so I'm wondering did fucking Chris fucking who what's his name? Obviously
Jamie,
huh?
Jamie, or are you talking about the for the actual creator? Or are you talking about David, the actual Art the Clown
No, no,
actor?
no, no. I mean the dude who came in and confronted pedophiles at a
Oh,
kitchen
Chris
counter.
Hansen. Chris
Yeah,
Hansen.
Chris
Sorry,
Hansen.
I
Chris
thought you were
Hansen
okay.
took him away. Chris Hansen took her father away because, he made her that costume. Seriously, seriously.
She was hot, Marty. She was hot. What do you care? She looked hot.
My daughter has a smoking hot body.
I mean, I would do a costume for you like that, and I'd call you Daddy.
Not if your father made it. I would
No,
get
no,
out of that fucking tin right fucking now.
our cat dad's with you. He's not a fan of the Terrifier series either.
I I never said I'm not a fan. It's the first one's too mean spirited. I like the second one because there's a bit more fun to be had, and Art gets his comeuppance. There is some
When his
fucking
head gets burst by the mental patient at the end.
yeah, but your one saves her brother at least, and fucking
How,
yeah.
Marty? Still, I ask this: how? We need to do a Terrifier stream.
Oh Jesus! And now that you're talking about Terrifier, we get our most fucking viewers, 5 viewers. Great, brilliant. For the new people that just came in, yeah, check it, give Echo a look. Just don't expect the same level of Netflix kind of caliber. Bar that, it's a fantastic show for
Yeah.
Indigenous representation. The last episode though, Marvel's going to Marvel. So yeah, with that, I'm going to end it here. Anything you want to add, babe?
No, just like I said, for someone who's not, even people who are not familiar with this, would be something you could bring in, like people who are not like friends or girlfriends or wives. If they're not into superheroes, they still might dig this one. That this one's worth it just for the character study alone. Not to say that superheroes don't have nuanced characters, but you know what I mean. For people that it's not their bag, this might be
That
something that could be easier to.
it is the lubricant on the penis of the superhero genre. Would you say?
Yes. Now take off
Okay.
your pants, close the stream, son. Take off your pants, darling.
No, no. We were doing so well. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here.
Ooh.
And big thanks to Cat Dad. Big thanks to Predpool. DMC was in the chat. There's other people in the chat. Thanks a million for stopping by. And yeah,
Hurry
definitely
up,
check
Marty.
out.
I'm going to take off my pants if you don't end it soon. I'm going to pull off my pants. And am I wearing panties? Only you know.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, with that, yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye bye.